Hey YouTube. So recently my channel got monetized. So I plan to do more videos on sharing my thoughts on some of the stocks that I either hold in my portfolio or that I'm looking to add or I'm just keeping a close watch on. One of those stocks is Beyond Meat, and recently they reported their earnings and the stock rose upon that report. Let's take a deeper look into Beyond Meat. Let's take a look at their results and also some of the reasons why I like the stock. So let's take a look at the results. So in a nutshell, these are the results. Revenue increased by 141%. And the notable thing about this was that this increased at such a rate despite the fact that almost half of its revenue comes from supplying restaurants, and a lot of restaurants, at least towards the last part of the quarter, were closed. So they still managed to deliver a strong revenue run rate. But I think what this quarter didn't capture was, of course, April, when there was a full month of restaurant closures. So it remains to be seen how they do in the second quarter. But I think the saving grace here is that they also do supply retail outlets, and so that can offset some of the losses in terms of the restaurant sector. So I have mixed feelings about Beyond Meat. I mean, initially when the price was skyrocketing, I did not think that I would even consider holding Beyond Meat. And I mean, besides just the fact that it was at least at one time very overvalued, I also did not really see a moat in Beyond Meat. And that's kind of the point that Brian Stoffel gets to in this article as well. Yeah, sure, it's a good company and it's increasing revenue at a very high rate, but can it manage to sustain that high revenue growth rate for years or even decades to come? And that really is the million-dollar question with Beyond Meat. So I actually tend to agree with Brian Stoffel that it's hard to really see a moat here. It's not on the scale of a McDonald's yet, where it has established partnerships with, thousands of distributors, or has thousands of retail locations where it can sell its products. And it is coming up against a lot of tough competition. Of course, there is Impossible Foods, which is another very young upstart in this field. But the more worrying competition will probably be some of the bigger food manufacturers like Tyson and Cargill, and they have a lot of money, and if they decided to go after this market, then Beyond Meat could be in trouble. So I didn't really see a moat, but as I disclosed in my May update, I did actually buy some Beyond Meat because I thought the price came down quite substantially, and I also talk about why I decided to buy Beyond Meat. So one thing I like about Beyond Meat, of course, is that it has very good revenue. As I mentioned, in 2019 the revenue was almost 300 million, up about 239% from 2018. So you can see that revenue is growing in triple digits, and so 2019 is not going to be like that. In fact, I think 2019 the company projected, at least before the pandemic hit, projected for revenue to increase I think about 60 to 70%. So that's quite a substantial decline from the revenue it had achieved earlier. But nevertheless, it's still growing at a very strong run rate. As mentioned, the guidance is about 64-71% revenue growth for 2020. They are aggressively expanding, and they are trying to ink partnerships with major restaurants like McDonald's and Yum Brands, and they are planning to enter China as well. So what I like about Beyond Meat is, I like, as the author here mentions, that it is a founder-led company. And I've seen a couple of interviews with Ethan Brown, and he seems very passionate about this cause. In fact, I think he was working in a fuel cell company at one time because he wanted to tackle climate change. But he felt later on that meat is probably an even bigger cause of environmental degradation in the world, and so by moving into plant-based meats, he could even make a bigger impact. So he genuinely seems passionate about this cause, and of course, I mean, Beyond Meat is his baby, and he will want to, put in his utmost really to make sure he can grow this as big as it can be. So I mentioned that they did about $300 million in revenue in 2019, and just for comparison, Tyson, which is another food manufacturer which sells predominantly meat products, they generated $42 billion in 2019. So potentially there is a long runway for Beyond Meat, and that's if they can convert even non-vegetarians to consume their products. And that's the interesting thing about Beyond Meat, is that they're not really just targeting vegetarians here. They are actually targeting non-vegetarians, and the goal really, as I understand from Ethan Brown, is really to replicate the exact taste, texture, aroma, whatever else about meat, so that it becomes almost indistinguishable. A Beyond Meat product is almost indistinguishable from a traditional meat product. And who knows, with the science available, that could be achieved. Maybe not now, but in the future it could. And in fact, I ordered some Beyond Meat products recently, and I tried it personally myself, and I'll get to that in a short while. But I think, theoretically at least, it's possible if they can replicate the same molecules in meat from plants and put them together and come up with a piece of plant-based meat that tastes and smells or feels exactly like the same animal version. I think the goal they have set is about to completely remove meat from the human food chain from 2035. So they have giving themselves about 15 years to eliminate animal meat. So they have a long runway. They have that possibility really of achieving that as well. The other thing I like to mention is that initially when I heard about Beyond Meat, I thought this was going to be a niche product for a niche market. But upon hearing Ethan Brown in some of the interviews, their goal is actually to achieve what they call price parity with animal meat. So right now they're not able to achieve that because of they don't have the scale and economies of scale basically that a traditional meat producer would have. But over time, as demand increases for their products, and I hear demand is increasing, especially during these times when there's apparently a meat shortage. So more people are going or gravitating towards Beyond Meat product. So over time, as demand increases and volume increases, they'll be able to achieve more economies of scale, and they will finally be able to maybe one day achieve price parity with animal meat. And that's another thing that gets me very excited, because I mean, taste is one thing, but if they can get the price to be the same, then they might be able to hit a home run with their product. So as mentioned, recently I ordered some Beyond Meat products on the e-commerce website called Lazada in Singapore. Lazada is owned by Alibaba. It's glad to know they actually have these products on their website. So I ordered the sausage, and I ordered the beef patty, and also ordered the beefy crumble. I'm not sure why they show this when you search for Beyond Meat, but anyway. So the sausage I found the first time, because it was the first time we were making it, the first time was a bit messy, so we were a bit unsure how long to cook it or how much to cook it, and what level of fire and so on. Ultimately, I think the first attempt was decent. I think on the second attempt we got it a bit better. And so as to the taste itself, I think well, I was a little disappointed. I guess I was expecting a little more. I mean, I've tasted pork before. I'm a vegetarian now, but I've eaten meat in the past, so I still have some feeling about how it is, some idea of how it tastes. So well, I think generally I will rate it about maybe a 7 or 8 out of 10 compared to the real thing. So but I think there's definitely potential. I think I mean, that's why Beyond Meat puts so much money in R&D, because they are trying to narrow that gap between plant-based meat and animal meat. So the beef patty, I think that was also decent. Also, I will rate it about 7 or 8. I just tried it on its own. I didn't really put it in a burger or anything with sauces or anything. If I'd done that, maybe I would have had an even better experience. I just wanted to try the patty on its own. So I think it cooks pretty okay. I think you got to thaw it just like normal meat. We were a bit impatient, so we just rinsed it under water, and then we started cooking it. So it was interesting. And I mean, I definitely feel healthier about eating a plant-based meat than animal meat. Even just the way you prepare and cook it, with not traditional meat, you gotta be very careful. I mean, if you're eating something that's gone stale, or you left it out too long, you gotta be very careful. But you feel more confident in plant-based meat. The other thing about it is, some people say it could be processed, but I'm not so sure if this is, so-called more processed than getting meat out of an animal, because, the process, to get traditional meat out of an animal is also pretty long. I mean, you first feed the animal with a lot of antibiotics, with a lot of grain, you fatten it up, and then who knows what else it consumes, and then you slaughter it. So that also is a pretty long process, and it's not completely natural, because there's so many artificial things that go into making even normal animal meat these days. So let's see. So far so good, I think. I'll probably, if they have a new product that comes out in the future, I might give that a try as well, and then I'll rate my experience again. So I am keeping a small position in Beyond Meat for project 1 million. Now that the price has gone up so much, I probably will not be adding at these levels unless it comes down substantially, or I read more about it and become, more convinced that this company, has a very long runway, or if I can see some kind of moat, that would be, the icing on the cake. So let's see how it goes.